Hello, cellists. I got a request from your teacher to talk a little bit about vibrato and use this Elgar elegy as a lens for that. There are a few things that I think are important to know when approaching vibrato. The first is that you can do a whole lot more with your bow to create warm, beautiful sound than you can with your left hand. At a certain point, the left hand then becomes like useful to warm things up in a group setting, especially, um, and create a sound that is rich and blends and supports the other instruments that you're playing with. So the first part of it is that what you're trying to do with vibrato is fit into a group sound, not be an individual hero necessarily. I also wouldn't be hiding either, but um, the things that I would keep in mind generally are that vibrato opens the hand. Rather than it being this tense exercise that makes you squeeze more, if anything, you have to squeeze more when you're not vibrating, holding a note static. Doing anything that is pressed and doesn't move is very uncomfortable over time. So use vibrato to loosen. That would be my first step. The next thing is think about the vibrato coming not at all from the fingers. The only thing the fingers have to do is hold that position and be loose. So, how do we hold that position? First thing I'd be making sure you're not doing is squeezing with the thumb. And it's easy to say don't squeeze, but you need something to stabilize the top of the position. Do that by really making sure that you have good contact with your chest on the cello so that you're driving against your own body as the counterbalance rather than requiring your thumb to do that. If you're finding yourself sinking like this in the chair, your thumb is doing all the work for you. So, thumb really can't be squeezing. Finger is in position, solid enough that as you start to shake, it's not going to slide around, but it is mobile. Think of rotating back with your arm, and really this comes from the shoulder. So back and then forward to where you started from. We're not trying to rotate from all the way back to all the way forward. If anything, it's just this pull, pull back with the bicep. Pull. You can do things like egg shaker sort of motion. Um, you can practice with a tennis ball on top of the string to get the feeling for how rotation makes sense up here. Yeah. One of the concerns that your teacher addressed with me was single finger vibrato, not keeping other fingers down. That's not a problem. Of itself, that's not a problem. The reason to keep fingers down is so that you have fingers ready to play. But I am just as ready to play E with my first finger raised as I am with it down when I have this much time. The time to worry about keeping fingers down is, am I going to have to move very quickly? This passage, we can throw out just about all rules. You could get away with doing a thumb meet. You know, technique itself is a means to an end. In the end, what we're looking for is that sound. Now, yeah, we want to be able to have hand shapes that are going to be efficient and reliable and repeatable. So, yes, we do want to have our fingers ready to play other notes anytime we're playing, but we can do things like loosen where we don't need to hold tension. I do tend to, on my fourth finger at least, have the buddy third finger there present. Because the danger that you would be running by going on only one finger is adding unnecessary stress to an area that's not strong enough to support it, or that you lose your point of contact enough that you start to drift away from tuning. So those would be the only considerations. Um, I'm going to I'm going to talk just briefly about hand shape because I do think that's important. If you are super perpendicular like this, you end up with 4 angles to the string, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can probably get a slightly more uniform approach with just a little bit of rotation this way. Not too much. If you start to get to the point where your palm is making contact, your thumb is coming around like this, you've gone into like guitar or violin world. And that's not the end of the world necessarily, but it's going to be harder to do some of the cello things that you need to do. But I do recommend little bit, just a little bit of this kind of angle as you start to vibrate so that you get more of that feeling of pull and the surface area on your finger instead of feeling side to side feels more in line with the direction your finger wants to go. That kind of movement. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Unfortunately, this is a piece that I am less familiar with, so the context of everything else that's going on I may not be capturing necessarily. But we do have a few clues for me even without that context. We've got adagio, we've got quarter note equals 66, we've got pianissimo. And I'm going to start at this passage at C here. I'm going to go ahead and put my mute on since it is muted. This being more of a string piece suggests to me that like what we're looking for is warm singing sound that is very hushed and gentle. So maybe a